Hello everyone, my name is Cathy New and I'm a researcher from Lancaster University in the UK. Welcome to the talk on our paper entitled "We Can Send a Man to the Moon, but we can't control the temperature in our office. A Considerate Approach to Workplace Thermal Comfort by Older Women." This paper is by myself, Cathy New, Alexandra Gormally, Adrian Friday and Mike Hazas. Thermal comfort is the subjective evaluation of the thermal environment and is important for health, well-being and productivity. What one person considers comfortable may not be for another, and people who work closely together can have very different ideas as to what is a comfortable thermal environment. There are 6 factors which affect thermal comfort, 4 environmental and 2 personal. The environmental factors are air speed, air temperature, radiant temperature and humidity. The personal factors are clothing level and metabolism, which can be affected by health, diet, age and exercise, among other things. Even personal factors such as our clothing and metabolism are impacted by dress codes and our working environment and practices, so we often have limited control over many of these at work, particularly if we share an externally controlled office with other people. Many of the standards that determine environmental thermal comfort factors at work are based on research conducted in the 1970s, which used male bodies to calculate metabolism and used a full business suit, as worn by men, as the standard clothing level to calculate the personal factor levels. Subsequent studies which have highlighted this gender bias have focused on younger women, and older women are underrepresented both in the research and the literature. From previous studies carried out in this area, we know shared office spaces are particularly contentious. There are few opportunities for control when buildings are regulated by a building management system, which often only has one temperature sensor per floor and is remotely controlled by an often male energy manager. So we ran a workshop with 13 cis women, aged between 47 and 60, who worked in shared offices at Lancaster University, and asked them to reflect on their experience and strategies for managing thermal comfort at work. We also asked them to produce some inventive system design sketches to help inform our understanding for future design work. The women identified specific needs such as fresh air and control over windows as important to them, often due to symptoms of the menopause, and also expressed a desire for better data about temperature and thermal patterns around the office, both temporally and physically. This would help them to make more informed thermal comfort choices in terms of clothing selection before leaving for work. They also wanted to understand whether the room and its occupants were hot or whether it was their personal experience, and they exhibited great empathy for the needs of others in their thermal preferences. None of the women in our study had any control over where they sat, and their personal thermal comfort needs were not taken into account, even when explicitly expressed. There was little opportunity for control of heat sources or window openings. 3 features of importance when designing space temperature interfaces were empathy for others, wanting to make sure everyone else's views were taken into account, data to understand if it's the room or the person that's too hot, so voting systems that show outliers as well as room temperature and the consensus in the room were seen as important. Cooler spaces rather than warm spaces were also desired. It's easier to put layers on, and there are only so many clothes you can take off in a shared workspace. Our findings bring the hidden voices of older women into the design space for heating technology, with particular lessons for technology and interface design, buildings and workplace practices, as well as wider HCI considerations, such as policy making. Thank you very much for listening to our talk. I look forward to your questions, and I really hope you enjoyed the paper.